Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Rise Up in Real Estate. I literally just almost hit the end stream button instead of the banners button, and we would have had a 10-second show today. But welcome back to Rise Up in Real Estate. We're in the middle of season 8 or the beginning of season 8, which is called The Agent of the Future. We put some thought into this season. It's not just an afterthought. We're going to talk quite a bit about what it means to be an agent of the future. And I've got one on the call today. I've got one co-hosting with me. Lawton, good morning.
Morning.
How you feeling today?
Good.
We got this thing going live on streaming on live on TikTok. Is that what you said?
Yeah, I hadn't figured out how to connect it to go directly through here, so it's really just my face, and they'll be able to hear you in the background. But I usually have a few people join anytime I do that, so we'll see if they can even. I've never done this before, so I think you can connect it through the streaming thing, but then I got to get TikTok on my computer, and I don't really know how I feel about that with it getting all my information. So
yeah, we don't need you shipped off to some foreign land because it's probably fine that it's doing. They don't hear me. I mean, they don't see my face. They hear you and like two voices. They're probably confused, but
yeah,
it is what it is. And it'll be interesting to see if I've never been so like distracted. Like when we're on here, it tells me how many people are on at a time. You know, and sometimes it's 20, sometimes it's more, sometimes it's 0. I'm like, well, what are we doing this for? But the way we do this show, so you'll know if it's first time ever. And by the way, anybody that hops on here, if you want to comment, we show your comments live, and we'll talk about this topic we're going to discuss today. We need your help figuring out if we're in a bubble, if we are just crazy with the thoughts that we're having. But the way we do this show today for 45 minutes live right here on YouTube and all of our social channels. Secondarily on TikTok, Lawton's TikTok with his friends, or they used to be his friends, maybe now they won't be. And then we get this edited, and it shows up on Monday as a podcast. So this past Monday, episode 1 went live, our discussion about AI and the season upcoming. And today we are here to discuss another topic, and it's going to be all about mindset and attitude and stuff like that. And I'm excited to get into it. But I want to start just by asking Lawton, what's going on in your day-to-day life, Lawton? I know you got a lot going on. You coach a little bit of sports. Tell us about that. Give me a little bit of personal stuff. Y'all are in the middle of some games. Talk to me for a minute.
Yeah, we just finished our region tournament. So the way it's set up, and I know it's different in most states, but South Carolina, we have basically our region. That's who we play most of our games against. There's a regular season champion, and they have a tournament. But our region's pretty small, so there's only like 2 games in the tournament, so it's kind of funky. We just finished that. We got runner-up in the championship. We were the regular season champs, so whichever one you think is more impressive is for you to determine. And then state starts the end of this week into the weekend, and then it's win or go home. But for the last few months, I've had a couple hours at night at practice and in the weight room and stuff like that with the boys, and then it's been busy the last few weeks with all the games, but it's coming to an end, so now it's win or go home for most of what we got going on.
Yeah, and hey, good morning, Alia. Nice to see you. Glad you're here. I want your input on this discussion we're getting ready to have because you are a very positive person, and I want to hear what you have to say. I'm glad you're here. Lawton, you are doing a little bit of assistant coaching at Myrtle Beach Christian Academy. I should have said this already. We are in coastal North and South Carolina where we are. We're in the real estate space, but we're also other human beings. We got other stuff going on. We're just talking a little bit about Lawton's coaching. So you guys have maybe like a week and a half left.
Yeah.
Okay. And the guys we went and watched the game the other night, how exciting it was to win on a tap in with no time left after being down. I think y'all were down how many were you down in the fourth quarter? Was it 14?
Yeah, 14 or 15, something around that.
In the fourth quarter in high school basketball. That doesn't happen very often. I was actually thinking if anybody could come back, your team could in that setting because the crowd was crazy. Your players had played as bad as they could possibly play. But when y'all started pressing, and that I thought it was over when I think his number 3, when he went to the free throw line, y'all fouled him and you shouldn't have. And he's a really good shooter. Well, he missed the first one. I said, uh-oh, the door is ajar. And then it was so much fun. And I enjoyed sitting. I love sports. I was sitting where I could hear PC, who's the head coach, talking to the boys. And I told him after the game, I said, "You're so calm, like level-headed." He goes, "On the outside, but on the inside, he's not." But it was a fun environment, and I'm glad you do that. Why do you take so much of your time and do that? Like, you're a real estate agent. You need to be prospecting and closing these deals and all that. Why do you take the time to coach?
I mean, I would be lying if I didn't say that a big part of it is just because I like basketball so much, and I'm not really able to play it as much as I wish I could. So being around that is really fun. But also, I found it's a way that I can pour into some of the guys at school in a different way than they're getting teachers and pastors all the time. But coaches are a little bit different. So it's fun. It's not a main reason of it is just because I like basketball so much and the opportunity came up. But both the other coaches were my coaches when I played high school. So it all just kind of fell into place. And I happen to have, it is ironic how many times though I'm at the very beginning of practice and I have to step out to answer texts or calls because that's when everyone else is out of work, but it's fun.
Yeah. Well, you don't need to apologize for that being the motivator. I appreciate that. They're lucky to have you on a regular basis. Look at Sue O'Shea from down south in Pawleys Island. Sue, it's great to see you. I really do want you guys to comment in a minute when we get the discussion started. And actually, if you have any questions, like I think it's interesting, Lawton, how old are you? 20, just turned 24?
Mm-hmm.
Happy birthday, by the way. You've had a birthday since our last episode, the ripe old age of 24. Went to Liberty University. Now he's a real estate agent for the last year and a half or so. And I think he just sheds a really cool perspective on what we've got going on. So glad that he's here. And last week we laid out the season. So we're talking about the agent of the future. Now, immediately when I asked people last week what agent of the future what they thought of was, it's almost like the Jetsons. Like, how can we automate and digitize and leverage all those fancy words for less, more work and less time, right? That's what Lawton kind of shared last week. He said, I can literally do my business in a sixth of the time that I did it even last year with the introduction of all the AI tools. So that's part of it. Certainly, we want to be aware of that. We want to talk about that. We're going to talk about AI tools that we use next week. Actually, I'm going to be in Las Vegas, and I get to host this show in front of all of RE/MAX, which is really cool for me. Actually, let me show you something. I'm going to step over here for a second. Well, these are Big Air socks. My dad of 6. I got some Big Air trampoline park socks in my bag. But let me show you this. Lawton, I hadn't even showed you this yet. Look at this. Look at this brand new T-shirt we got.
Uh-oh.
Look at there. Rise Up in Real Estate. So I'm going to be wearing this next week up in front of all of RE/MAX. We're going to have Tyler Morton as our guest. Lawton's going to zoom in, and Ashley's going to be sitting beside me on the stage. Look at the back. Live stream, podcast, YouTube, socials. Repeat. Rise Up. How cool is that? I'm a very good T-shirt designer, but I love the color. You'll love this fabric. You can wear this at practice. It's like a moisture wicking. It's very fancy, and they're affordable for you. You get one for free. Just tell me what size you need. Anybody else want a T-shirt? If you'll advertise the show, you put your size in the comments, and I'll be happy to send you one because I ordered 24. I got to have at least 24 people that want one. But they're very comfortable. So next week we'll be talking specifically with Tyler. He's an AI genius. We'll be talking with him about AI. And I told him, I said, I don't want you to hold anything back. Like, he's got some crazy ideas that he's been telling me to do silently, privately, but with AI that we're going to share next week, that you don't want to miss that. And I think it'll be cool. We'll be on this big stage, elevated, and there'll be people all around us. And there's going to be a live mic in the audience where they can walk up and ask us questions live on the show. Now, I will tell you now, all you Sue, those of you that are on here now, the time is going to be a little bit different because it's in Vegas. So I will get that to you earlier. It won't be at 10 o'clock. I think it might be a little bit later. I can't remember what time it is, but I'll get that to you. But that's going to be a great AI discussion and fun environment for y'all to see because I hope it's going to be different than my office or Lawton's house or wherever we are. But today, let's talk a little bit about mindset. Okay, the title of today is this: Problem Talkers versus Solution Builders. The truth is there's two conversations happening in real estate right now, and for the last 24 months, maybe always, these two conversations are going on. One conversation is all about rates, inventory, lawsuits, headlines, the president's tariffs, government shutdown, stock exchange. I mean, all these conversations, people are talking about all of this. The other group of conversations that's happening is simply this: how do I win in this environment? How do I win with all of this going on? Same market, same conditions, completely different future. Today, we want to talk about how we can be a problem talker or a solution builder. Now, I'm going to ask Lawton some questions. Oh, let me see some comments here. I forgot. How do I get a T-shirt? Now we're talking. Now we are talking. And somebody wants Big Air socks. Look at how are you, Mary Catherine? I didn't know you were going to be here. Big Air. I've got a pair of Big Air socks. If you want these, Mary Catherine, I know you go there quite frequently. I have them in my bag just on standby in case. Sue O'Shea. I need to write this down. Sue is a small. And I'm sorry. We'll be right back to the show in a second. Olga is a medium. Okay. Anyway, so I think it's interesting. Problem talkers versus solution builders. Lawton, talk to me a little bit about this because you're in it every day. I'm in it every day, and you guys are in it every day. Is this a real thing? Are there people out there that really just talk about all the problems? And are there people out there that are building solutions? Is this a legitimate conversation to have? What do you think, Lawton?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's definitely changed in the last. I mean, AI has affected it, but it's definitely changed in the last couple years. I mean, I had the privilege of starting real estate right when the lawsuit happened, so kind of hectic getting it started, but at the same time, I didn't know anything different. So that's just kind of what I fell into, and I've been doing it since. But over the last year and a half, it's become more like the people that are reaching out for my help already know a lot of these things, right? They might be asking for clarification, but it's not like it was right at the beginning. When I brought up the lawsuit, some people hadn't heard about it. Well, now it's past some, so most people have heard about it, but I mean, the way that I run into that the most is there's people are always waiting on something. And I've told you this, I tell other people this, but someone's always waiting on an election, or when the election passes and they're waiting on rates to drop. And that's what people have been waiting on for years, it feels like. But they're always waiting on something. So you're either going to be the person that, when they bring those up, you talk about those things for an hour, or you make it all. I mean, what I like to do is put it all into one. It's all in one big picture. Everything's connected. It's all about finding the perfect house for the perfect situation for the people, and that sometimes the rates is the biggest factor. Sometimes they are needing to wait for an election. Sometimes they are needing to wait for things like that. But I like to make it more it's more personal than just what the Fed's doing. It's the Fed affects the number that it's going to cost you. So is that something that you and your family can do? But there definitely are. People have different approaches, and I think, at least from what I see when I have interactions with other agents or other professionals in different areas, if they're all concerned about talking about all the problems, the person that is finding the solutions already has them, is already kind of past them. It's already kind of over with, because again, they're all just little aspects to a whole big picture. And if you focus too much time on one of them, you might lose that business, or you might lose that client. So I don't know if that really answers it, but I do think that there's definitely two different approaches to those sorts of things.
Yeah, so you hit on a couple of things, and I probably should clarify. Let's talk about for a minute which we talk about first. There's a client. There's the client attitude. Client, is it a problem talker or a solution builder as a client? How do you find that out, Lawton? Like, how do you know? And I guess basically what we're talking about is negativity versus positivity, pessimism versus optimism, that kind of thing. How can you tell when you're with a client, in your experience, what kind of person you've got a hold of here?
Yeah, I mean, I think, at least to me, like most of the time, the people I work with, when it comes to buying a house, unless they're uber rich, it starts with thinking about the problems, or thinking about those sorts of things, because it is probably biggest purchase you'll ever have. Now, we happen to be in the caveat of there might be some investors, and it's probably not the biggest purchase they've made. But when it's the biggest purchase, I think that's a lot of times where our human minds go to. What could go wrong? Where could this fall apart? So I don't know that it's always just negativity. I think it's human nature. But I think really quickly through asking the right questions and just having normal conversations with people, maybe not even about real estate right off the bat, you can pick up on their personality and where they're going to jump to. You can find out really quick if you're talking with a couple and very quickly they're talking about the issues they see in a house you walk through, or they're being worried about this and this and this, or if their response is, yeah, well, I know those things are maybe a little bit messed up, but all like everything's fixable, right? So it's pretty quick. And I find a lot of times it comes through maybe not real estate conversations, maybe conversations about the world or their lives or what's going on. You can find out pretty quick whether they're quicker to go to the negative or quicker to just kind of be like, let's just figure it out.
And do you have certain questions that you ask everybody, or do you kind of use your ability to have conversations just to unfold all of that, or are there specific questions you ask?
No, I mean, most of the time it's case by case. I really do view it most of the time as I'm just hanging out with people. And I happen to be the professional in figuring out how to purchase or sell a home. So I can correct certain things and teach certain things, but most of the time the people I work with, we're just hanging out and having conversation about things. I mean, of course, if it's as strict as, hey, you're coming into my office and we're going to talk about a buyer consultation, there's some things I'll go through, or same thing with listing a house. But it's really case by case. And I guess a lot of times I'll start out figuring out the why of what they're doing. And usually figuring that out, why they're coming here, what's making that happen, what they're looking for. Like those things open up every can of worms possible, and you find out way more than you wanted to know. But usually that's good info going into it.
Yeah. So here we're trying to figure out the agent of the future, which means you will be an agent in the future. And the way to be an agent in the future is to figure out how to do it best so you last. Because there is an idea that a lot of you that are in real estate right now won't be in 1 year. I mean, there are a lot of people saying that you won't be. But I think, and we think, if you figure out these skills of how to be this solution builder instead of a problem talker, then you will last. That's the whole idea of what we're talking about. So those of you that are listening, throw out some ideas or some questions that you might have for this whole concept. We're talking about, I was asking Lawton a little bit about, like, if you know you have a live one, a client, customer client that you're having emails, texts, in-person conversations, how do you know if they're like that person that's going to just stand on the problems, or if they're going to build towards a solution? And good advice, questions that you ask. And I think it was wise what you said, Lawton, too. Like, I guess everybody kind of needs to be, we need to be smart about it. We need to be aware. We need to know how all the things affect this giant purchase we're making. But for a client, sometimes I've been at places where they just, enough is enough. Like, if we know we're never going to get to the positive, then what's the point? Because it's draining and it's tiring. And I guess, do you push through all that, or do you move along when you have one? Because you can't really change somebody's character, can you? I mean, you really can't change. And I was always curious too, like even when I'm talking to people now, when they're super negative or just want to talk about the problems, I try to find out why. Like, what has happened to you? And you can't ask it this bluntly, but through questions, what was your, like this? I used to always ask this and thought this was, tell me about the last time you bought a home. Because you're going to learn a lot of things about that. Just like the question you just posed. Tell me why we're talking. Like, why are we making this purchase? What is it? What's it mean to you? What does it encompass? But when you ask somebody what they have been through, they might have had a terrible agent. They might have been lied to. They might have had something change right at closing where they have to owe a whole bunch more money than they thought. So they might just not have a great positive attitude about real estate agents. We don't have a great reputation. So there's all that stuff you have to work through, right? Is where is their mindset? And then the other side of it, and this is perfect for you guys. Y'all are asking so many questions, the ones that are listening. I appreciate you throwing the questions out there. Like none so far, but go ahead. Anyway, this isn't about guilt. It's about performance. Then on the other side of the coin, you have real estate agents. Now there's almost 5,000 in the market we're in today. 8 or 9,000 in the Charleston market, several thousand in the Wilmington area where we do all this. In Florence, there's a few hundred, several hundred. How do you know? Well, let me ask you this: do people get reputations for being a problem talker or a solution builder, or do agents get a reputation over time? You're nodding your head a little bit, and I don't want to mention names, but do you start to know who's which?
Yeah, I mean, because I mean, at least for me, if I have a buyer, a lot of times, I mean, this had just happened literally this morning, but over the last couple of days, like I have a buyer that wants to make an offer. It's very low. I know this. They know that. I reach out to the listing agent, talk to them, and there's some people that I know that if I have a conversation with them, they're going to come back to me and say, well, let's see how we can figure it out. Like, where can we get to that it's good for both people? And there's times that you get to, we're not going to be able to get there, and that's fine. I mean, you want best for what both people are getting. But there's other people that you come in and say, hey, we're going to be coming in kind of low, like kind of where your client's at, and it's just shut down. And it's like there's no possibility. And that's kind of what happened, but there's some names that when I see it as a listing agent, I'm back in my head. No, I hope I don't have to present a lower offer to them, because I kind of know that they're not going to come back at me. And there's other ones that when I see they're the listing agent, I tell my clients, I'm like, hey, I've worked with these people before. I have good relationships with them. Like, they're good at presenting to their clients. So let's just have a conversation and see if we can figure it out. So you definitely do get a reputation with the way you interact with other agents, I think.
Yeah, and that's a scary thing if you think about it. Is that if you get that reputation, it could cost you business. It could cost people. Some people don't want to make that phone call if it's going to be just too hard. Like let me see this. This is Mary Catherine, by the way. I can usually tell if they've been through a few agents at some point, the clients are a problem. If they make an effort to push forth and do what you need them to do to get their house lot listed, then you know that it goes smoothly. So this is true. You learn from asking, like, if they've been through a few agents, and I've always been kind of the guy that says, I always default to the agent and think the client or customer is crazy because I know the agent's better. That's not always the case. And if you're a customer or client listening to this show, just remember that we are a group of agents that are trying to we're trying to protect the public. That's our goal in doing the transactions that we do. But if they start by saying, yeah, I've been through about 4 or 5 agents, red flag normally, or maybe they genuinely are trying to find someone just like them. They might be out there though, trying to find somebody that'll say what they want to hear in a lot of cases, especially in this marketplace. But you talked about something a minute ago, Lawton, that I really appreciated. And that's kind of the whole idea of solution builders. When you have an agent on the other end of the deal, no matter what you bring to them, and they start by saying, all right, let's see how we can get this done. Let's see is there a possibility to make this happen? Right. That's a solution builder. They're looking, because they represent their client. You're bringing, and the seller's probably going to get aggravated at the low offer, but they are going to be the buffer between you and the seller to help them understand, hey, let's look at it. Because it's true, if the buyer might just be playing hardball and the seller shuts it down, and that might have been the buyer for their home. Mm-hmm. So the agent is looking for a solution. And you said you had one like that this morning? That's ironic.
I know. I've been showing them around, ironically, in Pawleys Island, which we've seen a couple times. And that feels like that's like 100 years away when you have to drive down there for showings. But showing them around, and we found one that would be great for them. It needs work. And it's really the situation where I talk to my buyer and they're like, hey, this is what we're happy with. This is the number we'd be good with. Can you present it? And it's also on me as their representation. Like, that's the reason I went to the agent first and said, hey, listen, I've got an offer that I'm probably going to be presenting. It's going to be super low. You're not going to like it. I wouldn't like it if I was a listing agent, but it's my job to get my clients what they're trying to get. So it also plays a part in how I approach it at first. If I come in and say, hey, it's only worth this much, this is what I got you, like, this is your best bet. Well, that's not representing my clients the best I can, because I'm already setting us off on a bad note, right? So but yeah, we're currently in talks much like that. But it's interesting to kind of figure out. But it's not one of the people on the other end that I'm scared to have these conversations with in this situation. It's a pretty I've worked with them a couple of times and it's a good situation. But I'm not feeling very great about this one, but we'll see if we get there.
Well, I mean, there is a lot of emotional maturity on what you just shared. That what you said in saying, "Hey, I would like it either if I was in your shoes." That's empathy. That is getting everybody on the same level, or you're trying to. If you, and I'm assuming you meant what you said. If you meant what you said, you're not being fake. Then you are letting that other human being know, I would feel exactly like you feel. So don't shoot the messenger, right? Let's just work through this together. I think that it's like psychological warfare, isn't it? And it's what's cool. I don't feel like you are calculated in what you're discussing with this person. This is just how you are, right? And I think there's a difference. You can tell when people come at you with fake empathy, fake emotional intelligence, when they try to smooth you. I mean, there are professions that are known for this, and I won't mention them, but you seem to be very genuine in that. I wonder if that's because you're new-ish, or if that's will last. Will you get more calloused over time? I mean, Sue, some of you have been doing real estate for a long time. Does that change once you get more calloused over time, do you think? Or you think you'll always be that way where you're like, I'm going to put myself in your shoes. I'm going to try to understand it from your perspective, because that's the way you get more deals done.
Yeah, I think it could. I think you definitely could get more callous to it if the person on the other end is someone that you've had bad situations with in that kind of conversation. But if it's someone that you've worked with a lot, then I think a lot of it just comes down to personality and how you approach things. And personality is not the right word, because really I think regardless of your personality, whether you're someone that's a hard-head negotiator, which those people do great, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I still think you have to have empathy somewhere in there, or else, again, there's the argument to be made you're not being the best agent for your client that you could be, because you're not. That's part of your job, is to keep everybody happy. I mean, as crazy as that sounds, it's a big part of our job, is figuring out how we can make every single person in the transaction happy. Lenders, attorneys, agents, sellers, buyers. So, but Sue's a good example. I don't think Sue would be callous to that at all. I think we have a lot of people in our company that have done it probably for much longer than I have, and have probably had much worse situations time and time again than I have had the experience of having yet. But again, their personalities and their heart behind it are to protect their clients. So I don't think they'd be super callous to it.
Yeah, and I think happy is one thing, content is the other thing. You know, that seller and the listing agent might not be happy with a crummy offer, but if y'all can work through it together, then maybe they can be satisfied, right? The lender, I like that perspective that you're looking at everyone trying to let's see if, because the way people are happy is they get what they're looking for. They all have different objectives, and you have to be willing to. This is what the whole thing is. If you're just a problem talker, you're probably going to discount most of it and say it's not worth it. We're not even going to make the offer. Let's just, because I know there's some agents, and maybe this is appropriate at some time. You just say that's a little bit ridiculous, but you have to know the client. You have to know the other agent, and other agents. I hope you're listening to this. I'm not saying that you would ever steer an agent would ever steer someone to or from your listing because of how you handle yourself. But I want you to hear what we're saying here, that if you have a reputation of not being approachable because you are trying to be tough, or that's just your style, your personality or whatever, just hear what's being said here. It may not be benefiting your client to the utmost, in my opinion. So just something to keep in mind. We're all trying to get the same thing done, right? Here's another comment. Almost missed it. I think you definitely grow a backbone, but you still have to understand this is a huge change in someone's life and very stressful for them. That's emotional intelligence, Mary Catherine. You're an adult. Look at you. You're having adult ideas. I love it, right? That is a human trait that's very, very overlooked in our world, I think, where somebody comes at you and you have the maturity to say, why do they feel this way? Why are they bowed up like a porcupine? What is the reason? And one reason is this is a huge purchase. We have something going on personally in our life like this right now where it is might be the right thing for us, but there's a lot of moving parts. Like what did Mary? I saw you laugh. Joey's here. I have a client just like that now. Yeah. I bet you do, Joey. But if you don't, it's weird because I'm in my office and I can hear Joey's in this office listening to this show. I can hear it across the hallways pretty clear. A lot of things come to a screeching halt when you don't have emotional intelligence. And if somebody's not a solution builder, if they're a problem talker and you just discount it and you don't want to deal with it, you might lose opportunities. So I think this is pretty. I just got a text from somebody on our show and I'm not going to answer it because it's not appropriate on the show. But here's another thought that I wanted to discuss, and I love input from you guys because, and I don't want to be ignorant because I am. Some people look at me as Pollyanna a little bit, like, if you ever watched the movie The Titanic. And when the Titanic is sinking, there's the string quartet playing the beautiful music. Like somebody said, "Hey, go play the music while everybody's freezing to death and dying. You stay positive. You keep everybody's spirit lifted. So when they freeze to death and they take their last breath, they're happier than they would have been." I would be one of the string quartet. Like I'm just going to be playing music until the ship goes down. So, but I don't want to be ignorant to what's really going on. Does it make sense to look at all that's going on in real estate right now in our let's call it the market, which I don't even love calling it that, the rates, right now, like today, it's the shutdown and it's the tariffs and it's Trump hopping on and off airplanes flying around the world saying if they don't, they're going to regret it. All the things, and I could mention probably 10 more things. Does it make sense really to look at those things and say, what is the opportunity in this for me? Or should you just freeze and not do anything while all that's going on? Right now, should we just not have real estate sales? Like shut it down because there's so much uncertainty? Or do you look at it and say, where's the opportunity for me? What do you think, Long?
I think
I know.
Say it again.
I know what you're going to say, but say it.
Oh no, I was going to say I think there's a place for both.
Yeah.
I think we should. The things going on just happen to what's going on right now. But a year from now, there's going to be other things going on, and 10 years from now, like it's all relative to what's going on. It's why we have the 80-year-olds that try to explain to us what their percent on their mortgage was, and we don't want to hear it. But there's always something like that going on. So you do have to find a way if you want to keep working in real estate. If you don't, then you don't have to find a way. Go find something else to do. But if you want to stay in this business or a lot of other businesses that are affected by outside things, you have to kind of find a way to react to it. I don't know that you should ever freeze, but I think there are different times in life where you can be, or in business and life also, where you can be really active and you can be proactive, you can be attacking things. But when crazy stuff happens, I think there is a place for being reactive. COVID happened. You had to be reactive in a lot of things. I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's the same as freezing. If you freeze in one place and get woe is me about everything, well, you're probably not going to be working, especially in this business, for very long. So yeah, I don't know if that really answers it, but I think there's a place for both.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say that. And I thought also the way you've answered the questions on this show in the past is it depends on the person. It depends on their circumstance. Like, let's say someone has just had a spouse die and they're in a 5,000 square foot house and they need to downsize. They're not watching the news going, I can't do this right now. They have to do it because of their situation. And I think that's part of the discovery that we need to do better in real estate is, like you mentioned a few minutes ago, find out the why. A lot of times the why trumps the market. I mean, even when rates were 18%, which I agree with you, like that's not relevant to right now because prices were different, and all of it was different. But when you there's people that buy in every market. Like when you said COVID, Sue, maybe give me some examples of things in your career that you've been through that were drastic. Like I remember 9/11. I mean, can you imagine being a real estate agent then or a buyer or seller then? What if you had your house listed during 9/11? Some of you weren't even born during that, but what if you had your house, you listed your house March the 12th, 2020, and a few days later the government said real estate's not essential, attorneys are closed. You know, what do you do? Well, you take a minute, like we talk about all the time. You take a minute, and then I think you evaluate how important it is for you. How about short sales? Some of you were very active during the short sale foreclosure nightmare that we went through in 08, 7, 8, 9. A lot of agents just said, "Oh, this is the worst. This is terrible." Like wish Lori White was on the show. I'm having lunch with her today. She had a robust business because she learned how to do short sales. And a lot of people wouldn't take the time to do that. That's a solution builder. That's someone who looks at opportunity. Like your basketball team did this the other night. I watched their faces. We're talking about teenagers, of course, and it's so hard to motivate high school boys, especially with egos and all that they're going through growing up and, you know, all that stuff. But I watched, they were down a bunch of points. They had the opportunity to quit or finish. And I don't know, what do you think, Lawton, was the turning point the other night? Why were they able to come back for the whole game they couldn't? What made the difference?
I think there's always in every game, and it's hard to point out sometimes, but every game there's one moment that happens that if you win that moment, that's when it's going to switch, and that really determines the game. Like we had that game. I don't remember a specific moment, but I know I don't know that there was ever a moment in that game that we thought we were totally out of it. I think we were getting really close. We almost didn't leave us enough time, but when we turned to switch and we got a couple steals and got a couple points, and then instead of 13, it was 7. You know, we were over the hump. We knew, oh, we just got to do that a couple more times. Last night we ended up losing, but we missed a buzzer beater. We lost last night, and there was a moment where there was like you could feel it. Like, hey, if we score right here, I think we might come back and win this game because we're losing the whole game. But we happened to miss the layup, and they got the rebound and got fouled, and it was kind of like, oh, well, that was that moment, and we lost it. So I think there is that moment that happens that it's kind of like that's the switch.
I don't know if this is why I do this show. I say it every week. I learn something every week on this show, and I take notes when my 24-year-old relative is speaking. I saw that moment the other, and parallel this to real estate. We're talking sports, but think about the moments. Like Sue, thank you for sharing this. She bought her first condo when she was 23 at 13. Well, good for you, 23, Lawton. There you go. She's setting the standard. 13% interest rate in 2008 and 9 was rough, but you're still here. So for some reason, you made it. I'm not sure why, but notice that what he said. There's a turning point moment. There's a lot. He said a lot there because in the turning point moment, for it to be a turning point moment, you have to want to still win. They had to want to still win. They hadn't quit. This is a huge lesson for us in real estate. And actually, quite a few people have quit and will quit, honestly, in the next few months, next year, maybe. If it doesn't drastically change, it's tiring. We just keep banging our head against the wall. But if you want to win, that turning point moment could be. And I saw it the other night in that game that you won. I wasn't there last night. But it was interesting. PC called, your head coach called a timeout. And I was sitting right behind the bench so I could see this. He sat everybody down. I don't know if he does this all the time or he just did it in this one game. He wrote something on the clipboard. I couldn't see it. But he looked at the guys and he goes, "What do you think?" And they didn't say anything. And he goes, "It's on you now. It's on you now." Like it's maybe it was 1v1 that was on the clipboard. I couldn't quite see it. But he was saying to the team, "I have coached you enough. Go get it. If you want it, go get it. If you want to win, and I think there was like 4 minutes left. Y'all were down by 14 or 15. And the other team, ironically, the other team threw the ball in. your guy got in good position and he dribbled it off his leg and it was your ball going the other way and y'all made a basket. And it was like right then, that was the moment. It was like, here we go. But notice real estate agents, even clients, they wanted it bad enough to create that moment. They could have told PC at that moment, and I felt it. It was valid. They could have said, no, up yours. I mean, honestly, I have busted my tail for 3.5 quarters here, and we have no results to show for it. We're losing by 14 or 15 to a team, by the way, that they beat by 45 earlier in the year. I mean, it was not supposed to be close. They could have easily said, I'm done with this, especially because it really didn't matter. It really didn't matter for the state tournament anyway, probably. But they found and I want you to parallel this to real estate in your own mind. They found a reason to win, and they had the turning point moment. That's building solutions. In this marketplace, and Lawton said it, he's 24. Sue would agree with this. Mary Catherine, those of you that are speaking up, we appreciate it. There's something all the time. There's always going to be something. And when you think there's not something, something's coming, right? I mean, who would have thought 9/11 we would have had COVID, or we would have had 2007, 8, 9, or we would have had tariffs, or we would have had unemployment, or we would have had the stock market crash? You know, who would have thought? Well, you know, who would have thought that is the smart people that realize there's always something. So our hope is that you find the turning point moment, you have the passion to push through whatever it is going on with you, and that you can build solutions. I think I've learned a few things. I wanted to ask one more question. Is there anything that you guys do? Lawton, you can answer it. Is there anything that you guys do to keep your mindset right so that you would have empathy, or you would be a solution builder in your business and your personal life? Is there anything that you do on a daily basis to keep your headspace straight, or is it always just like that?
I mean, for me, it's being consistent with things outside of work and going to the gym and having a devotional and things of that nature that I do every day without fail. Because if I don't, one, it affects me more than just real estate, but it kind of keeps me in touch with like my real life that's going on. So when I have conversations with clients, I realize like there's more going on with them than just buying a house. Like they have that on top of trying to stay in shape, trying to eat well, trying to have good relationships with their family, and like these things. So that for me, like going to the gym has been a big one the last 6 months of like, no matter what's going on in any transaction that's going on, like I'm doing this. And the nice thing about real estate is you can still kind of work while you're there. But I'm going to set aside this time, one, so my mental can reset. So then when I have a conversation with someone, I'm not stressed. I'm not at the very end of my fuse, because if I am, a lot of the things that clients are going to bring up are going to tick me off if I have no fuse left. And that's not fair to them, right? Like they really, when they're buying a house, when they're going through all that, like they should be the one that's closer to erupting than any of us. So that's what it is for me. And I know that that's the same for a lot of people, like having these things outside of work that are consistent, that you don't give up because it makes you better to then be a better agent for someone else.
Yeah, routine. You said a few things that get your mind centered. I'm sure that all of us have, but when you don't do those things, doesn't it affect you? Like you said, it makes your fuse shorter. I like that. And are you doing it to keep your fuse long? Is that the right way to ask that? Are you doing those things for that reason? Or are you doing those things for your own development? Is it both? What is it?
No, I think it's more, I'm doing them for my own development and myself. But because I pay attention to how I feel and how I act, like I can tell very quickly, oh, there's way more benefit to this than less weight and bigger muscles. Like there's way more benefit than just that. So I think it probably starts out as something that's personal and selfish, but when you can be logical and wise and look at how it's affecting you, there's some things that might have the adverse effect. Like it'd be really easy for me, playing video games for an hour would have the same benefit of clearing my mind and relaxing me. It would have all those benefits. but it wouldn't have the benefit of all of the, I mean, that's a poor example to compare that to lifting weights, but there's some things that you could have some real benefit personally, but then when you go back into work, you don't feel like you've rested at all. So I think noticing that after the fact and paying attention to it's really important.
Yeah, that's pretty wise. Isn't it interesting too? I think take a step away from your business. Like, don't read a personal development book, business book. Go to the gym, take a walk, nice dinner with your partner, whatever it is, refuels you. And I love that you're doing it for you. And an overflow of that is better business. Challenge for you now, Lawton, is doing that as you get busier, staying committed and leveraged enough. And you're smart enough using AI probably that you're not going to, you might even recognize you are busier, but over time, as you get more and more busy, still being devoted to that. My prayer is that you would continue to be that way. There you go, Joey, go cook some barbecue. That's a note just to stop the show on. And that's actually, it's a hobby for him. It's part of, Jeremy's told me the same thing, Jeremy Blanton. It's part of a de-stressor. There's so much in this conversation.
If it's too hard of a recipe, that stresses me out. So it's all case by case. You got to find out what it is for you.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I hope that everyone has thought of this over time, because if you don't have time where you can, I mean, you've heard us talk today about empathy. To have empathy, you have to have a pretty clear head. You have to have a good understanding of who you are, comfortable with that, confident in that you're willing to take someone else's things that they're going through and feelings, justified or not, and relate to them. And be able to build around it. Just like what Mary Catherine said, sometimes you just have to take it on the chin and be willing to do that. So great conversation today, Lawton. I appreciate that. We missed Ashley today. Ashley had another appointment. We've got a big meeting coming up that she's responsible for, so she's not here. But really pertinent conversation. I'm excited for this to be a podcast episode and to see the traction and leverage that it gets to people out there. Remember, we're in coastal North and South Carolina, and we're here. Rise Up in Real Estate. The purpose of this, even though real estate's kind of our industry, so to speak, our goal here is to help you rise up and in wherever you need it, whether it's in the gym or with your friends, or whether it's, thank you, Sue, whether it's with your spouse, whether it's with a client. Today, I'm hoping that we've shed some light on that circumstances around you are always going to be different, changing, and not positive in all regards. The only way to win is to be able to say, where is my opportunity in this? And how can I empathetically apply that to whatever situation that you're in? So, Lawton, if you got any closing comments, go win the state tournament. That would be fun to talk about next week when we're back on the show. Do you have any closing remarks?
Nope. The only comment I had on TikTok was, do you want to pay for my DoorDash? So I'm not really sure that helps our conversation at all. But,
well, I mean, sometimes you have to have empathy. I mean, how hungry is that person? And
they're gone now. That was a while ago.
Yeah, okay. I mean, the short answer is no.
Yeah,
we don't. That's pretty funny. So next Wednesday, pay attention. I will send out a different time for this show. You can go on, if you're on a social channel or you're on, especially on YouTube, you can hit notify me or subscribe and then hit the bell. And every time we go live, you will get a notification. So that's a smart thing to do. But I will send a link next week like I always do, but the time will be different. But Lawton, I appreciate you. I hope you have a fantastic day. I'll probably see you at 11 at the next meeting. But thank you guys for tuning in to Rise Up in Real Estate, the agent of the future. And we will see you next week from Vegas. Thanks, buddy.
See ya.
See ya.